This show was previously broadcast live on ProgressiveRadioNetwork.com.
Hello. Welcome to another edition of Expanding Mind. My name is Maja D'Aoust. I'm the co-host on the radio show, filling in for Erik Davis. He can't be with us this week, but he'll be back soon. We're not going to be on next week either because it's Thanksgiving. So I'll be somewhere being grateful. Today, I, the esoteric librarian, will be guiding us through the show. And as you may or may not know, we talk about consciousness, technology, and culture on our show. And today, we're going to be focusing an awful lot on the technology aspects and their relationship to consciousness. Some of you may know that Erik Davis wrote a fantastic book called Tech Gnosis, Gnosis with a G, kind of like GNU. And in his book, he explores a lot of the relationships of esoteric technology to different modern-day technologies, and that's exactly what our guest on the show today is doing also, going back into the ancient roots of technology and trying to find answers there and explore them. And I think a lot of us kind of forget about the relationship of consciousness to technology and science. They never really get into the stories behind the nature of invention of these machines and energies of ours that we use every day, like light bulbs and computers and things like this. We kind of take them for granted as we sit and write on them. And even the radio that I'm talking on right now we think is some kind of modern invention when, in fact, the streams of conscious awareness of the ability to transmit and receive information in fact go way back into the beginnings of time of the human race. So today we're going to be really looking into what some of the implications of that, can be, that our technologies and consciousness are intertwined pretty intricately, and where we get these ideas for our modern technology and kind of correlations that we can find in ancient cultures that display our knowledge of these. And today we're going to be talking to JJ Yosh, and he's working on a project right now called Ancient Tomorrow. It's a TV show where they go to a lot of places looking for these ancient technologies and kind of explore what some of the potentialities are. They have a website called ancienttomorrow.com if you want to find more information. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest today, JJ Yosh. Thanks for being on the show, JJ.
I am happy to be here as well. Thank you very much. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks, JJ. JJ, I'm so excited about your guys' project, Ancient Tomorrow. Do you want to just kind of give a little spiel and introduce it to the folks?
Definitely. So the project itself has been probably around for thousands and thousands of years, but I just discovered it just within this last year. And this television show will take experts, renowned scientists all across the world to ancient sites believed to hold lost ancient technology. And some of us believe on our team that these lost technologies are or could be the key to solving our sustainability solutions for the future. So,
wow, that's pretty important.
Yeah.
That's a tall order. I love how on your show you guys do have, you look at it very scientifically, and your team of experts is pretty amazing. You guys have got people from all over the place. Do you want to maybe describe some of the folks that you're working with on it?
Yes, they're not your traditional scientists by any means. I mean, we have everything from an anthropologist who loves the consumption of insects. That's kind of her way of going about sustainable food sources for the future, to a historical psychic that can channel into the past and the future and be able to give us a glimpse of what artifacts might have been really used for, to an electrical engineer who uses the power of sound harmonics to be able to levitate and move objects. So it's there's a lot of different types of people, and then my background's in chemical engineering, and I've been using that in an ecological way. So we have a variety of experts that some are believers in what we're doing, and others are more skeptical, maybe about the dates of maybe a pyramid or a structure. So it provides a lot of, let's say, good conflict, if you will, between our teammates.
That's awesome. And when you say skeptical about the purpose, that's a very interesting thing to say, because really nobody really knows what the purposes of a lot of these ancient sites and structures were. And, I mean, even if you just do a little research on the Internet, you can find myriad conspiracy theory websites that kind of, will say all kinds of claims that, the pyramids were nuclear reactors or, anything really. And that's why I like that you have both kinds of people on your show, and that you guys are really just trying to get to the bottom of it and find out what exactly their nature is.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
important.
We're searching for the holy grail of power generation is how we like to put it. That's
the main...
thing.
The main focus is, right, for energy sources. Is that correct?
Yeah, everything that most of the technologies that we have today are in some way connected to energy. So it's kind of the common root between everything, and it's like if we can solve the energy crisis, then that should be able to solve a lot of other problems too. So.
That's very interesting because, obviously technology needs energy to run from, and we as human beings need energy. Also, we all consume energy. It's like the kind of how the universe operates. And in modern day, people seem to think that we've only just recently kind of wrangled being able to store and use energy, like in batteries or, electricity, right? Everyone thinks that Benjamin Franklin was the first one that kind of discovered electricity. Can you maybe give us an example of one of your favorite, maybe an ancient source of electricity that you guys are looking into?
Sure. It's this technology dilemma that we're trying to uncover is so deep in its roots and history that we really are piecing it together one fragment at a time. So we've looked at more obvious examples of electrical devices like the Baghdad battery, which was discovered in Iraq a couple thousand years ago, to another kind of ancient material that was used as electrical conductor called mica, which is used in the tunnels of Tiwanaku, and I believe they've also found it in the pyramids of Giza as well. So kind of putting together these fragments of missing technologies to kind of prove in some way that there was electricity used back in the ancient days. And when I say ancient days, I'm talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And so that's kind of what we're doing. And then looking at more modern scientists like Nikola Tesla, we can kind of see how he went about discovering the electricity in his own devices as well.
Now, I am a big Tesla-phile myself personally. Some of my friends know that my older daughter's middle name is actually Tesla, named after the great man. So I love the Tesla technology aspect and how he was able to really, figure out that you can have wireless energy and that you don't need to have wires to have electricity be conducted. Are you guys going to be having some of the Tesla technology on the show?
We definitely are. And just to kind of illustrate a little more about how the show is going to look to the audience, it's an adventure drama that kind of shows a linkage between ancient technology with modern technology. So if you took an iPhone's LCD screen, we would kind of show how the parts of the LCD screen are related to ancient parts from the past. And we'll be showing Nikola Tesla's inventions and how they were related to ancient technologies. So kind of showing how the timeline of technology took place and how more modern scientists like Nikola Tesla might have utilized more ancient knowledge to build these contraptions.
That's really interesting to me when you say timeline, because to me it seems like these things kind of cycle, like they keep coming up. How do you think, like just you personally, how do you think scientists like Nikola Tesla kind of keyed into that ancient technology? Do you think because he wasn't really studying it necessarily, it just kind of came into his conscious mind, right? So what do you guys think about that, like when you look at how linearly the timeline of these technologies work?
You know, I should say, what do I think about this? Because, like, as I told you before, our team is very diverse in their belief systems.
Right.
So
right.
What I believe is not necessarily what my other teammates believe. But personally, what I believe is that he channeled into this universal grid, whether it be through meditation or if it was like a light bulb that went off in his head. And, you know, sometimes you get those kind of aha moments where you're like, oh, my God, like, this is what I need to do. And I think that he tapped into that source through his conscious mind, and then he started to design it on paper. And that's kind of how it came to him. Now, other people might say that he actually spoke to ancient people, you know, through a more ghostly matter or esoteric matter, or maybe he spoke to extraterrestrials. But I would just say that he kind of channeled into his higher self. And, you know, the knowledge is out there for everyone. We just have to be quiet and still and listen to the truth inside of ourselves.
That's so great that you said that, because I totally 100% agree. And it makes me a little upset that especially scientists now really kind of discount people getting inspiration like that through going into consciousness. Because if you look at technological and scientific advances that we've had, they all come that way. I mean, the shape of DNA was revealed in a dream. You know, the periodic table comes in a dream. Tesla found the alternating current literally in this, like, ecstatic hallucination that he had while staring into the sunset. And people just want to think that they logically figured it out, which is, like, never the case. And with a lot of these technologies that we use right now, it literally is where I think people just kind of tune into that information that is already there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's so great that you guys are going to be talking about that stuff, especially with the Tesla technology. Are you going to actually go like to Colorado and look at some of Tesla's places and things that he worked on?
You're asking a lot of secrets of the show. But
I'm sorry.
we might we might be going there.
Oh, it's top secret. Sorry. Okay, I'll switch gears. Then you had mentioned, this is something that's really interesting to me personally. You talked about like the LCD screen and some of those ideas of ancient technologies, which I really like to always talk about these because crystals. Everyone thinks that crystals are like super new agey, and everyone kind of rolls your eyes when you start thinking about crystals because you think about totally witchy-poo people staring into crystal balls, but people forget that, like, computers and radios and all these things were actually made out of crystals way back in the day, like the very first ones. And are you guys going to be, like, you had mentioned some of the stuff in Tiahuanaco, is that how you say it?
Tiahuanaco.
Oh, do they have, like, some of the crystal technology there? Is that what the mica stuff is?
Mica is just a different material. The crystal technology is going to be more found through the various tunnels and caves and labyrinths that we go through different material that are different crystals that we come across. And as far as that, I mean, we'll be piecing that together as we go through different adventures through the landscapes.
Right.
But it's going to be mainly, I think, because we don't know exactly where all these materials are going to be. So we're thinking like Peru is where we're going to find those quartz crystals.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. Yeah, I always like to try and research crystals into people's brains as being like viable electrical energetic things, because people forget that they are like one of the most ancient sources of those, and that we have inside our bodies too. Like DNA is a liquid crystal, which is like how they're making the new plasma screens and stuff. They use liquid crystal technology, which is actually inside of us as well in our DNA. Are you guys going to be looking into some of the relationships between these ancient technologies and like consciousness as a kind of concept, or are you going to be just kind of looking at them in isolation?
That again is another our tagline is will lost technology save us? And I think the good question here for you and all of the listeners out there is, what do we mean by technology? Who is what is the technology, and who is the technology? So that's a question I have for all of you out there. But we have our historical psychic, and we also have Dan Shaw, who's our visionary map maker, navigator, who between the two of them, they will provide kind of that link between consciousness and technology. And whereas the electrical engineer and the anthropologist and our technical climber and our archaeologist and our astronomer are going to be more on the scientific side. So they'll be looking at technology as if it's a physical device, and then some of our other teammates will be looking at technology as it's more of an esoteric connection to ourselves, to our consciousness. So we'll have both sides of the coin to make it
what side of that do you fall on? Do you look at it more as part of yourself or more as like outside?
Oh God. Well, I definitely look at it as through a more esoteric sense. But I think the way it's going to look initially is I'm going to look at it more. Well, actually, I'll put it this way: when I first go on the adventure, as much as I think of it as technology is from an esoteric source, I don't fully believe it, because if I fully believed it, then I would be able to materialize things just like that with a click of a button, and I can't do that. So I obviously
really?
Don't fully believe that. So my conceptualization of it initially is going to be I feel like it's going to be a lot greater once the show progresses 5 years into the future. Like in season 5, I'll believe it a little more.
Right.
So I'm hoping that through this journey, I will believe technology is more directly connected to an esoteric source. But right now, I'm not fully convinced.
I see. That's a pretty good answer. I like that answer. It's true. Like if you can't see it in front of you, right, then how do you know it's true?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a toughie. I think because for me, I'm really big on alchemy. So the big thing in alchemy is as above, so below, and that a lot of the like Chinese and Indian alchemists think that the inside is the same as the outside. In fact, my friend Stash, who's a big alchemy author, said that Lama Govinda once told him that the inside is exactly the same as the outside. So when I think about technology, and I think that Eric Davis had said this before too, that it's all just recapitulations of things that are inside of us, and how machines are just kind of outward expressions that we kind of project into the world that are mimicking structures that are inside of ourselves. And like I mentioned with the liquid crystal DNA, and how we're now making things with liquid crystal that transmit and receive information. That kind of, to me, is true. But you're right. It becomes about being able to really see it and prove that. And then, if you can do things that are literally magic, like manifest that kind of stuff in front of you. But it is magic, like how someone made a light bulb. I mean, that's totally magical, right?
Yeah, you materialize something from nothing, just an idea.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, you can flip a switch and a light bulb turns on and makes light. I mean, it's pretty magical to me. I don't know. JJ, your guys' mission then is to uncover these ancient technologies, and you're really kind of looking at that they could be the keys to our future survival. And I have kind of a stinker of a question that I'm going to ask you, so you don't have to answer if you want. But if these ancient societies have crumbled and become extinct, how do you think that their technology can help save us if they're no longer around?
Wow, you got me there. You know, I would say that as great as their technology could have been, it's not perfect. And we're here today to constantly move towards that more perfection image. So I think just because their societies have crumbled doesn't mean that there is not some sort of truth and goodness in what they've created in the past. And just looking at the structures that they've created, I feel like it's been very much built within the earth. And there's things we can always learn from past failures. And there might be some incredible technologies that we do find that even though they destructed their own communities, or, I mean, we don't even fully know, like, why their societies crumbled. And it could be something completely outside of us. You know, it could have been, you know, let's say a meteor from another planet that came in unexpectedly. And it doesn't mean that their technology that they used at the time wasn't amazing and clean burning and efficient and super innovative. So I think that we still can learn a lot from them, and it doesn't hurt. You know, it doesn't hurt by going to the past and evaluating our past mistakes and learning how we can rise again. And I think that the experiences that everyone on our team is going to gain personally through this adventure, and the wealth of knowledge we're going to come across is going to start an active discussion amongst everyone on this planet. And I think it's time that we all start to question and really ask ourselves, thousands of years ago, were we in fact hunter-gatherers, or could we have been a more advanced civilization than we are today? And because of an unknown cataclysm, we started all over again. And I think it's going to definitely wake us up and present a lot of new solutions that we weren't aware of before.
Yeah. I think that's totally awesome. I mean, I think people seem to have this idea in their heads of how we were back then, but it's true, we really don't know. I mean, we have all these things that we keep finding out with these crazy technologies that could, you know, indicate that we weren't just these dumb hunter-gatherers that kind of walked around. Have you guys experienced much kind of backlash about your ideas about that on the show, or have people seemed pretty supportive of it?
You know, I think because we do have skeptics on our team, they kind of provide the backlashing for us. So I've only encountered support and encouragement. I think our civilization, our society as a whole, in this time of age, especially as we get closer to the mid 21st century here, is ready for this exploration of an alternative history that we know of. And even the skeptics that we encounter, as skeptical as they are, they're still kind of open to it, and they hunger for this. You know, they hunger for people to challenge their ideas so that they can back them up even further. So I'm really excited about the people that we encounter in the future. I mean, we've only encountered mostly supportive people, but by having skeptics on our team, it kind of takes care of that a little bit.
It does. And then in turn, it does, like you said, make you have to solidify your answers as well. When people challenge them, then it gives you the opportunity to really just kind of, you know, make them more true to yourself, because then you have to work harder to express them.
Yeah. Exactly.
Here's another kind of gnarly question, but have you guys thought about the possibility of danger? Like, what if some of these technologies were actually what destroyed the civilizations? Have you and your team talked about, like, what would happen if you guys actually did find, like, some kind of crazy nuclear device?
I tend to. I'm more of an optimist. I guess I'm the optimistic person on our team, although we do have other optimistic people on the team. So I really just kind of think of the good outcomes. I mean, yes, we need to prepare for the worst, but I feel like if we just kind of keep ourselves in the light and surround ourselves by supportive people, that we have nothing to fear. And if indeed that did happen, we would deal with it when it happened. But there's no reason to fear it and to put energy and thought to it when we don't know fully if that would even necessarily happen. So
right.
It's just kind of like this World War III thing. There could be a World War III, but if it happens, it happens. And I'm going to be thinking about that World War III is not going to happen. So it's just a matter of like, where do you want to put your energy and your focus?
Right.
And do you want to put your focus on the bad and the fear, or do you want to put your focus on the love and the beautiful? And I don't have a tremendous amount of energy to put towards the other side. So, but I'm sure, we do have skeptical people on our team, so they bring that up every once in a while, and so I'm sure they'll cover our bases. But as we get closer to embarking on this adventure, even with planning the expedition, we do have to prepare. There could be avalanches, there could be different dangers that could happen, and so we'll be bringing a medic with us, and we'll be bringing different safety people there with us to make sure that we'll be okay. So each step of the way, we'll take the necessary precautions to make sure that our personal safety is good to go. But
right.
It's just a matter of just dealing with it one step at a time and globally thinking of the best possible outcome.
Yeah, it's kind of heavy duty. I mean, when you look at some of these ancient technologies, like even just Tesla, for example, okay, there's all this stuff about the Tesla death ray, for example, and how some of these technologies can be used for harm when they get into the wrong hands, which kind of seems to invariably happen. But like you said, I mean, when you guys have good intent and focus on love and energy going into it, I personally think that makes a big difference. But I think also, like, it's just gnarly, like, when people, I think that, and here we get into all the conspiracy stuff, but a lot of folks think that some of this Tesla tech has already been usurped and used for bad purposes. So, you can just kind of look at it that way, that it's already being used for folks that focus on that end of it, right now, just like they use good ones. So it could be that even if you guys did find something that is like totally gnarly energetic-wise, that, we wouldn't even have to worry about that because it's already being utilized. Have you guys thought about that at all?
If we were to use these technologies that are already being utilized by other people on the other
side?
Well,
if you guys did uncover some super heavy energy source that it could possibly already be being used by, like, governments for, that you wouldn't have to worry about unearthing some kind of danger, right, because it's already been recycled. Yeah.
I mean, there again, you're crossing into, like you said, conspiracies. We're not sure, like, who's using these technologies. I would say that for me personally, it's safe to assume, from my perspective, that these technologies are probably already in use, and they've been in use for thousands of years by a select few. And it's because they've been in use by those select few that not everyone else knows about it. So maybe traces of evidence are hidden from us. But we're kind of just really touching on more of the discoveries that are known but not widely known, and exposing those technologies. So while we do have the intention of uncovering or discovering new technologies that have never been discovered before, it's really just about rediscovering it and exposing it to people. And mainly what our team is doing is we have a set of theories that we're creating, and we're just trying to link ancient technologies with modern technologies. So it's stuff that's already out there, and we're trying to show how it can apply to what we have today and how it can improve the modern technologies that we have today.
Do you think that if you guys can release this kind of information to the public, like if everybody becomes conscious of this and realizes the kind of true nature of these technologies, do you think that that will really help, like, push us over into sustainability?
I don't think that's going to necessarily be the thing that pushes us towards sustainability. I think it's just going to be people being awakened and starting the discussion of our ancient history. A lot, it's just, when we're taught in school, we're taught such a limited scope of history, and most of it's really boring, actually. And I think if we just were brought to our attention of an alternative set of history, that it could expand our mind so that we could ask more questions. And our show itself it's very inspiring. You're going to watch us go through amazing landscapes all over the world, from Peru to Bolivia to countries in Africa and Asia, and it's just stunning stuff, and you're going to see wildlife, and you're going to want to go on those adventures with us. And so many of us live in cities that the closest thing to nature is these paved parks. And so this is going to be a very inspirational show to kind of encourage you to get outside of your house and start exploring your own backyard. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be partnering with numerous organizations, environmental and humanitarian organizations, that they can give back to after they've been inspired. And I think that is going to be the huge way of how we're going to help propel sustainability. So we'll start we'll start a conversation, but we'll be mainly inspiring people to explore their world.
Yeah, people just really don't get that in a lot of places, so I think that's a really important thing for you guys to do. And that leads me to a personal question for you, JJ, which is what inspired you to kind of get hooked into this ancient history? I mean, you mentioned that in school we aren't really taught it. Was there a single moment that you can remember where you got kind of turned on to it?
For ancient civilizations, I can't really pinpoint the moment. For the environment, I can. And the way that I'll explain the outdoors is, for me, when I go into the outdoors, it's the place that I recharge, and I immediately feel good and whole again. And if I'm really exhausted and I'll go in the outdoors, I'm just like, okay, I'm back. Just like people who have coffee as a fix. That's kind of my coffee, if you will. But when I'm out there, I feel, ageless and raceless and positionless, and I'm just there with the rest of the world, and it's the best feeling of connection. And as soon as I come back, I feel more compassionate to people around me. And when I've taken other people into the outdoors, I've seen them transform with me. And just watching the community that exists when you're in the outdoors, when you're taking an expedition team into the wilderness, it's so different than how our world operates when you live in a city and everything's so separate and you're confined in these box cars driving around. And so as far as the ancient civilization connection to that, I've always felt that the way the world isn't completely the way that it's going to seem a little out there, but the way the world isn't completely the way that it is, if that makes sense. So right. I've always felt like that I'm missing kind of the piece of the puzzle. I've been missing the whole story. And when I used to read history, it didn't really ever resonate with me. I always felt like, God, it doesn't make sense. How could we have been the first civilization to do all of this? Mm-hmm. And through the course, in the last couple of years, I've been dealing with promoting sustainability and environmentalism through modern-day green living. But when I really asked myself, how can I make a huge difference and a huge change in and moving towards a more sustainable planet, I was thinking, well, maybe we can go to the deep past. And when I really started to investigate the ancient past, I started recognizing and finding like crazy discoveries of these ancient green technologies and just the way they built things. And so it was just kind of through that investigative research process that I was like, this could be it. This could be the way that we can build a more sustainable future, by looking to the past architectural designs and really building into the earth and with the earth instead of against the earth, and as most of our designs today are. It's funny because if you look at most of our cars, it seems like our vehicles are even becoming so futuristic and curve-shaped that it's moving away from a more, I would say, organic, nature-integrated way.
Right.
So,
well, and that's interesting, too, to think about, where our consciousness technologically is headed. And it's interesting to me that for you got inspired by going backwards, and people like to think that when we think about new technologies, it's all going into the future, right? That even like the name of your guys' show is interesting to me, that it's Ancient Tomorrow, because when we think about where technology is going, it is that futuristic, like all getting organic and, all science fiction-y and stuff. But I think it's so interesting that, we can look back in the past and see all this stuff back there, that the futuristic stuff was actually like thousands of years ago.
Mm-hmm. It is funny. We are building new technologies that are replicating more ancient technologies. So we are actually going back to the past, and our past is our future. So that's what kind of it's triggering. It's like, well, maybe there was this advanced civilization before us, and because of this cataclysm, we don't see it anymore. And there's been some new programs out, like Population Zero and A World Without People, where it kind of shows if all people were to disappear right now, how long would it take for every trace of our civilization to disintegrate? And it's like around 10,000 years. So it's just interesting, how our modern technology structures that we build today couldn't even last thousands of years if we wanted them to.
Right, because they would just be obliterated.
Mm-hmm.
But then do you personally think that they would just show up again in the next cycle?
The technologies you mean after...
Like if everything was obliterated like it was in the ancient societies that you guys are going back to, like would we, like if 10,000 years went by, would someone make iPhones again?
It'd be interesting to see, I mean, I think that's kind of the allure of time travel, is to see that if in the past we were as advanced as we are now, and if in the future we see a whole other future that's exactly like ours. It's interesting to think of, and a lot of movies out there have kind of played on the notion that our past is our future and our future is our past. So that would be cool if we had the same iPhone. If that was the case, it would really prove this universal consciousness that does exist, because we're constantly tapping into it.
Yeah, it's true. And I'll just introduce a little idea. I don't know if you've ever heard of this fellow, but his name is Christian de Quincey, and he wrote a book called Radical Nature. And inside, have you heard of him?
I haven't, no.
Inside his book, he kind of philosophizes about the relationship of consciousness to energy itself. And he kind of goes through all of these different proofs and philosophies and tries to see like what exactly the relationship is of consciousness to matter and to energy, and if some of these energy forms are conscious themselves, if they are consciousness, if consciousness is energy. And he kind of comes to the conclusion that it can't be exactly the same, although he does say that consciousness is light, and light is a form of energy. So I always like to think that, well, that means it kind of is. But I kind of think that, like, these things are recycling, like you said, that we can bring them back from the ancient past in ways like Tesla did by just hooking into his consciousness, because the technologies themselves are kind of like a form of energy that would then be related to consciousness, and that if these things are all talking to each other, right, through energy and energy forms into our consciousness, that's why they keep coming back and they keep, circulating. And you had said something that you felt like he tapped into the world energy grid about that, and that was very interesting to me. Can you tell us a little bit about what you meant by that?
Well, the planetary grid, which I think you're referring to, and the universal conscious, or the universal grid, I would say maybe they're the same thing, but I was referring them as different things.
Uh-huh.
But the planetary grid, or the world grid, is this natural energy grid that exists around the world. As it's kind of going with the concept that the Earth is a living being just as we are, and it has its own energy that it vibrates with. And not only does it have chakras around the Earth, just like we have chakras on our body, it has energy vortexes around the world that are kind of like these massive points of energy into the being. So that's actually a theory that we are going to be trying to collect evidence of on our adventure as well. And the reason why we're even curious about that is because through our research, one of our researchers, Dan Shaw, he has mapped out a lot of locations around the world that of ancient sites that were placed and built on these various energetic vortices points on
right.
the Earth. And so it makes us believe that there's some sort of special, unique properties that do exist at these places if people were to build on them.
Right.
And then going to the universal grid, which is what I meant by when we what we actually tap into, is more of like this universal consciousness that it's way bigger than just our Earth. It's bigger than our galaxies. I mean, it's the biggest of them all. And it's just this, when we close our eyes and we reflect, we're tapping into that. And when we get that aha feeling, we're tapping into the source. And explaining it further than that, I really couldn't, because it's beyond words for me. So, that's how I would differentiate the planetary Earth world grid and the universal grid. The Earth grid is more of a physical, tangible thing that we can actually get a lot of evidence for, whereas the universal grid is more of an esoteric, kind of existential sort of thing.
Right. Well, the old alchemists would say, as above, so below. So these are all just, it's the microcosm, macrocosm, that they're all just recapitulating that same idea. It's in our bodies, too, like you mentioned, like I've always thought, they call them ley lines, like what you're talking about with the Earth grid, different energy centers. Like there's been a lot of research. I think a lot of Russian teams have actually done a lot of research into it. But I kind of think of it like how we have acupuncture points in our body, and they're energy aggregators for different organ systems. And I think like some of the Earth ones work the same way, that there's energy accumulations, which are kind of like acupuncture points. And then they accumulate energy there, and then you can kind of like manipulate it and stuff like that. But there was actually a scientist that studied that. They called it the Schumann resonance, and they found that the Earth emitted different energy frequencies at different spots, and I don't know how many different spots that he went to, but they actually found out that the Schumann resonance that the Earth emitted was the same as the human brain. Isn't that crazy?
That would make sense.
Totally.
That would prove that we really are connected to the Earth.
I know. It's true. Like a lot of shamans, there was this fellow that did studies on healers, and he would measure with like an EEG what their brainwave was. And whenever they went into like healing mode, it went right back to the Schumann resonance. Like they would have the same kind of, I think it was like 7.83 megahertz or something that they would revert back to, which was the same as the Earth. It was pretty interesting. But do you guys think that like when you guys are going to be kind of putting the show out there, what is like what is your personal biggest hope that it will accomplish, even just like in one season? Would it be to communicate this stuff to people, or do you want to actually like see people start implementing the use of some of these technologies?
Actually, it's more of I would really like to see a lot of the partnered sponsors that we're going to be working with and advertisers give back to a lot of the environmental organizations that we're going to be working with, and really see people that watch the show get inspired and go on more hikes in their backyards and donate to a lot of these causes that are part of the show, and just kind of see people get inspired and to take action in their own world and start asking questions in their own community about what really is our history, and maybe to see our history books in classrooms start changing to include more history that otherwise wouldn't be there. So, because we tend to think of our history books as kind of written from the winners of the wars perspectives. Right. So it'd be great to see the losers of the wars get to write their perspective in the history books as well.
Yeah, I love the losers. Especially
so they could even sell a history book, the history book according to the losers.
I would totally buy that book. I know, it's true. I think that the way to do it is just like you're doing to, raise people's awareness of it, and that's where you can start to, affect people's consciousness, is just by even making them think about these ideas. And then maybe people will write those books, like The Loser's History of the World.
Yeah.
We can only hope.
Maybe history class would be more entertaining then.
I know, God, you'd actually be able to stay awake.
Yeah.
What to you is there like one specific ancient technology that you've read about that is like the most exciting to you, that you're like just like can't even handle it, like that just really makes you go nutso?
Yeah, actually there is, and it's going to take years of research to really understand it. So that's why it's not something we're actively looking for right now. But it's the lost pyramidions of the pyramids of Giza. Where are they? I want to know. And kind of what was their true purpose in relation to the pyramid. And because there's a lot of different theories of what the pyramid was. Was it a power plant? Was it a library? Was it a tomb? And whatever it was, what does the pyramidion have to do with all three of those scenarios? So
now, when you say pyramidion, just so that everybody knows, can you tell us what that is?
It's and this is so fascinating because I never saw this. It's always been in front of your face. When you look at the dollar bill, you always see that the...
Hello? JJ, are you there?
I am there. I don't know what happened. It cut off. Maybe I wasn't
Dude, the
supposed to say that.
pyramidion totally shut me down.
Yeah, I don't think you should maybe talk about that there.
Dude, that's crazy. I know. Maybe we shouldn't, but it's important. I think we should. Let's try again. Okay, keep going.
So I won't talk about the dollar bill. So on top of the pyramids, there is a capstone. It's like the triangle that finishes... It's the pyramid on top of the pyramid that finishes the pyramid. And I was never aware of this until this year, but there are missing pyramidions on the Giza pyramids. So they don't have their top, so the top is just kind of flat. It doesn't have that triangle top to it.
And I'm really excited that you're talking about this right now because actually I've done a lot of research into them. They're also called the Ben stones, is what some of the other cultures talk to them, and they've been like affiliated with the phoenix. And it's true, all the pyramids had those on top of them, and they're referenced in a lot of occult literature, but hardly anyone knows about them. So I'm really glad that you're talking about them. So what did you guys, are you going to actually try and like track them down?
Yes, we definitely are, but it's going to take us a while to do that. So that that will definitely be revealed on the show. I can't say what exactly we'll find. It's a journey in itself, but we do want to understand as clear as we can the purpose of what they served on the pyramid, and understanding why they were taken. And I mean, they've been gone since, I guess, written history has been recorded, or modern history, anyways.
But there are references to them in the Egyptian papyri, like that's actually true, and they're even mentioned in the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard theories that they kind of were the Pyramidians were the transmitter to the various star systems in the universe or in the galaxy, and they were the kind of the power, the thing that collected power from the sun and harnessed it. So there's a lot of interesting theories that go around of what the Pyramidians could have been used for, especially if it was a power plant or if it was a library. So I can't wait to find out what more we're going to uncover about this.
I can't either because I seriously got so into them. I read this little like nugget about them when I was researching into Egyptian history, and then I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And then sure enough, like I started reading it, like Manly Hall mentions them, and Manly Hall is like, the guy that started the Philosophical Research Society where I work, and he has like some little snippets of them, and then I looked into some of the older alchemical material, because alchemy all comes from Egypt too, and they would mention the Ben stones in this like totally amazing way where it was literally about like you said, like transmitting and receiving information.
Yeah, it's just fascinating because we see so many pyramids around us on an everyday basis. I mean, so many companies have that as their logo, and so many companies have the pyramids split, or the pyramidium split from the pyramid, leaving like a gap. And it's just like, wow, I never really thought of like why they did that. And maybe this is why, because it's referring to this lost pyramidium. And if that is the case, then maybe there's more significance there than we've ever thought. And if there is more significance, then this must be like a really, really innovative thing. So it will be fun to see what its true purpose was, and why it's been so where it is, why it's been hidden.
Yeah. Man, well, I wish you guys good luck on that one. It's going to be a pretty good adventure. Is there like any other of the like major technologies that you can share too that you are just like can't wait to find out more about?
I really am excited to understand a little bit more about Nikola Tesla's free energy machine and a lot of his technology that he gathered, and understanding the relation to that in more ancient technologies. I think by studying Nikola Tesla, we're going to be able to understand and actually find out more ancient technologies thousands and thousands of years before him, since it seems like he really had a good sense or a good channel to these technologies. So I'm really excited just about researching him more and understanding where, what he's created in the past. And from that, it's more of like I think I'm more excited about the technologies that we haven't found than a lot of the technologies that we know about, because when I first started this adventure into the past, there was not as many technologies that I first saw that are, I mean, if you were to Google ancient technologies, you're going to see the most popular ancient technologies, from the Baghdad battery to the Antikytherian Greek computer. But when you really start to research further and further and further, you start to to uncover the technologies that only a few people really know about, and that's where it gets really interesting. And so that's a lot of the technologies that we're going to be presenting on the show, is like the stuff that you'd have to like research for hours and hours and hours and talk to people and ask them, because it's not even online. You know, you have to actually talk to the people that are doing the research for it. And there's reasons why it's not online too. So it's those are the things I'm excited about, and I would love to mention them, but if I mention them now, then there's no reason to watch the show.
There would be no show. Yeah, that's totally rad. And then I know we're almost out of time, but I wanted to ask you, like, are you a techie? Do you get really into technology? Like, do you use a lot of cutting-edge technologies that come out yourself personally?
I use a lot of technologies that relate to the outdoors, and other than that, you're not going to really catch me playing video games or watching TV unless it has to do with something outdoors related. So when it comes to the outdoor gear that we have to use, I really like to use the most innovative, high performance gear that we can use, from GPS machines to electronic gadgets in our outdoor cars. So sort of things like that. But
so you guys aren't going to be like putting on your aluminum helmets on the show for telepathic communication?
That'd be good. That would be. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to really do throughout the years. I mean, it just depends on who we encounter. I mean, that's kind of the crazy thing about this show, because we didn't really tell the audience, but the show is a combination of reality and scripted. So Lost meets The Amazing Race, and so what could actually happen in the show is a mystery to all of us. We really don't know. So
that's the best way to do things, I think.
Yeah.
Just keep them mysterious. JJ, do you want to tell people about some of the websites and places they can find out more information about Ancient Tomorrow?
You know, if you visit ancienttomorrow.com, there's a lot of resources through that website, through the various archaeologists and paranormal experts that we work with, and you can kind of find a lot of information through that. And just kind of as we go further through the months, you'll be able to watch our expeditions live through our website, and look out for the show in fall 2010 to a network near you. So
that's so rad. Well, thank you so much, JJ, and I really believe in your project that you're working on. I think it's really important that we go back to the past and kind of uncover these things. So thank you so much for doing the work that you do.
Thank you for letting me be on, and have a fun time talking with you. That's great.
Thanks, JJ. Thanks to all our listeners. This is Expanding Mind. Maja D'Aoust leaving you guys today to remember to keep your minds open. Have a good one.